How we doing today, neighbors? Ian with eTrailer here, and today we're going to take a look at and then install the CURT Class III 2-inch by 2-inch hitch on our 2025 Kia Sorento. Now, the Kia Sorento is a popular vehicle that we're starting to see more often here at the shop, and so we wanted to be able to present this CURT hitch as a great option to be able to open up maybe to a bike rack or cargo carrier. The Sorento does have a nice set of raised rails that would give us plenty of room, but if we wanted to be able to have those bike racks easily accessible here at the rear of the vehicle, this CURT hitch is going to be the solution for that problem. And this hitch is going to feature a 2-inch by 2-inch receiver hole and take a standard 5/8 inch pin. And the pin is not going to be included with the kit, so if your accessory doesn't already have a pin, do take a look at some of our locking options to help keep your accessories or towables safe on the back of your Sorento. And I do love these open style safety chain loops that are going to be super easy to use regardless of what type of safety chain retainer you may have. Now, when it comes to capacity for this CURT hitch, we're looking at 4,000 pounds on the towing capacity and 600 on that tongue weight, so full pressure down on the actual hitch itself. Now, when it comes to those capacities, you'd always want to double check your owner's manual, see if the rating number is lower, and stick to that lower number if it is the case. A couple measurements to keep in mind while we're looking at this hitch, just for clearance on your accessories. You'll want to measure from that pinhole on your accessory up to the folded position if you have a folding accessory to make sure this is going to clear. So measuring from the center of our hitch pin hole out to the edge of the bumper, we're looking at just 4 inches. So just a rough idea if you do happen to have that cargo carrier or bike rack that's going to fold up against the rear of the vehicle. And then for ground clearance purposes, going from the ground to the inside top edge of our receiver tube, we're right at 14.5 inches. So that'll give you an idea, maybe if you've got a longer accessory, whether it's going to stick out too far or maybe drag on those hills. Now, when we get into the install of this one, I'm going to walk you through that entire process, which is going to include us dropping that spare tire, and then there's a plastic panel here on the driver's side we will need to remove. But once we've got all that out of the way, we just need to have the exhaust hanging, and we can go directly to the frame and the factory weld nuts put in there for us. I'm going to walk you through all that again, like I said, but if you happen to watch the video and think to yourself, I don't want to try to tackle this, please do check out our dealer locator on the website. We'd be happy to help you find a trained professional in your area that can get this installed for you. But for all those DIYers, let's go ahead and hop right into it. Now, we're going to be starting under the vehicle. We are going to have to remove the spare tire, but first we're going to get this panel out of the way. On the outside, we've got two 15mm nuts that are just little plastic retainer nuts. Those can be backed off by hand or with a socket. We also have these push pin style fasteners that we'll need to remove. And it looks like just the 3 have to come loose here. With those removed, we can continue to back off the 15mm plastic nuts. We may have to put some pressure down on the plastic just to get it to back away here. And we can remove that plastic panel and set it to the side. Now we can work on getting the exhaust loose. We do want to use either a cam buckle strap or ratchet strap just to support it while we're taking it down. So we'll find a couple good spots here for that to live. Maybe just go off the spring on each side. Get that supported there. Now we're going to come back with soapy water at this front isolator at the axle and get that removed. We're going to have another set of rubber isolators here at the rear of the muffler and then up towards the fender on that passenger side. And we'll get this last one up in the fender well here. This one's going to be a little tricky because it is kind of recessed back. Now we'll loosen up that cam buckle strap and just give a little bit of room for us to be able to access the frame rail here on this side. Now we are going to be dropping that spare tire, so we're going to come to the rear of the vehicle, open up that compartment, get our jack out of the way, and expose here a 13/16 style nut that's going to drop that. So we'll just throw the socket on there and get our spare tire removed. Now one thing we want to do before we put the hitch into place is double check our weld nuts. We just want to run a brush up in those, maybe a little bit of penetrant oil just to get everything cleaned. And then one more tip I've got is just go ahead and run your hardware into each of those holes to make sure that, again, all that debris is out of the way, and that if we've got any paint buildup in there, that's going to be out of the way when we go to put the hitch in place. It's going to make it a lot easier while we're trying to hold that up there if the threading's not any kind of boogered up at all. Now we are going to be lifting the hitch into place. I've got a pair of hands here helping us with that. We're just going to go up over the muffler, line up that bottom hole, and we'll get the hardware put in enough threads to be able to hang it, and put the two inside hardware in place as well. Once we've got about 5 or 6 good threads, we'll just let that hang and grab our other 2 pieces of hardware. Now we can come in the inside of the frame rail, and there's going to be those 2 additional spots. We're going to put our hardware, and while I'm talking about hardware, I did want to mention these are conical tooth washers, so you want to make sure the teeth are facing towards the hitch. With all that hardware in place, we're going to come back with an extension and 19mm socket. Just get all that run down and snug up against the frame. And we'll start with the bottom one just to get that pulled up against the frame rail before we tighten the ones on the sides. Now if you find when you're tightening up the hitch that the grommet towards the front of the vehicle ends up pinched in between that hitch and the frame, you can remove that grommet beforehand. Now we'll come over to the passenger side and do the exact same thing. Again, if you need to remove that grommet, I would suggest it. Now with all those bottomed out, we can come back with our torque wrench and torque that to the specifications shown in the instruction manual. If you don't own a torque wrench, you can pick one up along with your order for your hitch, or you could head down to a local parts store and they should be able to rent one out to you. We're going to start on those bottom ones again, get both of those torqued, and then come to our ones on the center of the frame rail. With all that torqued to spec, we just want to make sure we get all of our rubber isolators for the exhaust back into place. Make it very easy for you if you just spray them down with a little bit of that soapy water to help slide back over. And then the plastic panel over here can be returned to its spot. If you're going to be doing wiring though, I would leave that off because we are going to need this area in order to run our modulite and have our wires go up to the tail light. So just a little tech tip there, that if you are going to be running your wiring, hold off on putting that back into place. And that's going to do for our installation and look at of the CURT Class III 2" by 2" hitch on our 2025 Kia Sorento.